This wasn't my best year. I'll just say it. This wasn't the year I thought it would be. Not even close. There were moments where I thought I had it figured out. Thought I was finally on the right path. Thought everything was coming together. And then it didn't. Plans fell apart. People left. Things I counted on just disappeared. And I spent a lot of nights sitting with that, wondering what I did wrong, wondering why nothing seemed to work out the way I hoped it would. But here's the thing. Here's what I'm starting to understand now, looking back at it all. Maybe it wasn't supposed to be my best year. Maybe it was supposed to be the year that taught me something. Something I couldn't have learned any other way. You know that feeling, don't you? When you're in the middle of something difficult, and everyone keeps telling you it'll make sense later. You'll understand why this happened. You'll see the lesson in it. And you just want to scream, because you don't want a lesson. You want things to work out. You want to feel okay. You want to stop struggling for just 5 minutes. I felt that way most of this year, like I was drowning and people kept throwing me philosophy instead of a lifeline. But now, sitting here at the end of it, I get it. Not in some fake positive way, not in some everything happens for a reason way, but in a real way, a way that actually means something. I learned what I'm made of this year, not the version of me I show other people, not the one who has it together, not the one who's always fine, but the real me, the one who shows up when everything else is stripped away. I learned I'm stronger than I thought, and also more fragile than I wanted to admit. I learned I can lose things I thought I couldn't live without and still be here, still breathing, still trying. I learned that rock bottom isn't this dramatic moment. It's just quiet. It's sitting on the floor of your room at 3 in the morning, realizing you can't keep going the way you've been going. Understanding finally that something has to change and that something is you. This year broke me in a lot of ways, but it also showed me where I needed to break, where I was holding on too tight, where I was forcing things that weren't meant for me, where I was pretending to be okay when I wasn't. I learned that crying doesn't make you weak, it makes you honest, that admitting you're not okay is braver than pretending you are, that asking for help isn't giving up, it's growing up. I learned who actually shows up when things fall apart. And I learned, maybe more importantly, who doesn't. That lesson hurt, probably more than anything else this year. Finding out that people you thought would be there aren't, that relationships you invested in were more fragile than you realized, that some connections were only there for the good times and disappeared the moment things got hard. But you know what else I learned? The ones who stay, the ones who sit with you in the mess, who don't try to fix you or rush you, who just show up. Those are the ones that matter. And sometimes you have to lose everyone else to see who those people are. I learned that healing isn't linear. Some days you feel okay, like you're finally getting somewhere. And then the next day you're back at the beginning, wondering if you made any progress at all. But you did. Even when it doesn't feel like it, you did. Every morning you got out of bed when you didn't want to. Every time you chose to keep going when giving up seemed easier. Every moment you were gentle with yourself instead of cruel. That's progress. That's growth. Even if no one else sees it, you know it happened. I learned that you can do everything right and things can still go wrong. That's not fair, but it's true. You can work hard, be kind, show up, give your best, and still things can fall apart. And that's not a reflection of your worth. It's just life. Life doesn't operate on a fairness system. It doesn't give you what you deserve. It gives you what it gives you. And your job is to figure out what to do with it, how to keep going, how to find meaning, how to build something good, even when the circumstances aren't. I learned I'm more resilient than I thought. Not in some superhero way, but in a quiet way. In the way I kept showing up even when I didn't want to. In the way I found small reasons to keep going. In the way I didn't completely give up, even when part of me wanted to. That's resilience. Not never falling, but getting back up. Even when it takes a while. Even when you're still hurt. Even when you're not sure where you're going. I learned that it's okay to not have all the answers. To not know what you're doing. To be uncertain about the future. To feel lost. That doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're human. We're all just figuring it out as we go, pretending we know more than we do, hoping it works out. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. And either way, we learn something. I learned that comparison is poison. Looking at other people's lives, their success, their happiness, their seemingly perfect everything, and feeling like you're behind. Like you're not doing enough, not achieving enough, not being enough. But their life isn't your life. Their timeline isn't your timeline. Their journey has nothing to do with yours. And spending your energy measuring yourself against them just takes away from the energy you need to build your own life. I learned that rest isn't laziness. That taking time to do nothing, to just be, to recover, that's not weakness, that's survival. You can't run on empty forever. Eventually you break down, and when you do, it's harder to come back from. So rest before you have to. Take care of yourself before it becomes an emergency. Listen to your body. Listen to your mind when they're telling you to slow down. I learned that closure doesn't always come. Sometimes things just end and you don't get an explanation. You don't get a conversation. You don't get the chance to understand why. And you have to make peace with that. You have to create your own closure, your own understanding, your own ending to the story. Because waiting for someone else to give it to you means staying stuck, means giving them power over your healing, means putting your life on pause. And you can't do that. You can't wait forever for something that might never come. I learned that forgiveness is more for you than for them. Holding on to anger, resentment, bitterness. It doesn't hurt the person who hurt you. It hurts you. It keeps you tied to the past, keeps you replaying the same story, keeps you trapped in something that's already over. Forgiveness doesn't mean what they did was okay. Doesn't mean you have to let them back into your life. Doesn't mean you forget. It just means you're not carrying it anymore. You're putting it down. You're choosing peace over punishment. I learned that you can't save everyone. No matter how much you love someone, no matter how hard you try, you can't fix them. You can't make them want to get better. You can't do the work for them. They have to choose it for themselves. And watching someone you care about make choices that hurt them, choices you can't stop, that's one of the hardest things in the world. But sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let them go. Let them find their own way, even if that means watching them struggle. I learned that you can outgrow places, jobs, friendships, versions of yourself, that what fit you before might not fit you now. And that's okay. That's growth. Shedding things that no longer serve you, making space for what's next, even when you don't know what that is yet. Trusting that letting go creates room for something better. I learned that your mental health is just as important as your physical health, that you can't just push through everything, ignore how you're feeling, act like it doesn't matter. It matters. How you feel, what you're going through, the state of your mind, all of it matters. And taking care of it, therapy, medication, whatever you need, that's not weakness, that's wisdom. I learned that vulnerability is strength, that opening up, sharing your truth, admitting when you're struggling, that takes courage. It's easy to hide, to pretend everything's fine, to keep people at a distance. What's hard is letting them in, letting them see the real you, the messy you, the uncertain you. But that's where real connection happens. That's where you find the people who love you for who you actually are, not who you're pretending to be. I learned that success looks different for everyone, that it's not about money or status or what other people think. It's about being at peace with yourself, building a life that feels good to you, doing work that matters, having relationships that are real. It's about being able to look at yourself in the mirror and not hate what you see. Being able to go to sleep at night and feel okay about how you spent your day. That's success. I learned that you don't have to have it all figured out. That 30, 40, 50. You can still be learning, still be changing, still be figuring out who you are and what you want. There's no deadline for your life, no age by which you have to have everything together. You're allowed to be a work in progress at any age, for as long as you need to be. I learned that some years are just about surviving, not thriving, not achieving, not becoming, just getting through it. And that's enough. That's more than enough. This year taught me that I'm still here. After everything, all the loss, all the pain, all the moments I wasn't sure I'd make it through, I'm still here. And that means something. It means I'm stronger than I thought, more capable than I believed, more resilient than I gave myself credit for. It means I have more fight in me, more hope, more life than I realized. This wasn't my best year, but it was the year I learned who I am when everything else falls away. The year I learned what I'm capable of when I have no other choice. The year I learned that rock bottom can be a foundation if you let it. That falling apart can be the beginning of putting yourself back together, in a way that actually makes sense, in a way that actually feels true. I learned that endings can be beginnings, that losing something creates space for something new, that the worst year of your life can also be the year that changes everything, because it forces you to look at things differently, to question things you never questioned, to let go of things you've been holding onto for too long. It breaks you open in a way that lets the light in. And when you're on the other side of it, when you're looking back, you realize that's exactly what you needed. Not more success, not more comfort, not more of the same, but disruption, discomfort, something that forced you to change, because you weren't going to change on your own. You were too comfortable, too stuck in your ways, too afraid. So life changed it for you, and you fought it the whole time. You resisted. You wished things were different. But now you're grateful. Not for the pain, but for what the pain taught you. Not for the loss, but for what the loss revealed. Not for the struggle, but for the strength you found inside it. This year taught me that I don't need everything to be okay for me to be okay, that I can be in the middle of chaos and still find moments of peace, that I can lose things and still find joy, that I can be broken and still be whole. It taught me that healing happens in layers. You don't just wake up one day and feel better. You wake up and it hurts a little less, and then a little less, and then one day you realize it doesn't hurt the same way anymore. It's still there, but it's different, softer, quieter. You've made room for it, learned to carry it without letting it consume you. This year taught me that growth doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it feels like everything's falling apart, like you're going backwards, like you're losing yourself. But really, you're just shedding the parts that were never really you, the parts you thought you needed, the parts that were keeping you small. And when you come out the other side, you're lighter, clearer, more yourself than you've ever been. This wasn't my best year, but it was a year that mattered, a year that meant something, a year that changed me in ways I'm still discovering. And maybe that's what the hard years are for. Not to break us, but to remake us. Not to destroy us, but to show us what we're really made of. Not to end our story, but to start a new chapter. One where we're wiser, stronger, more honest, more real. One where we know what we can survive because we've already survived it. This year taught me that I'm going to be okay. Not because everything worked out, but because I'm still here, still trying, still hoping, still believing that better days are coming. And that's enough. That has to be enough. Because some years, all you can do is keep going. Keep breathing, keep showing up, Keep choosing to stay even when everything in you wants to leave. And when the year ends and you look back, you realize that was everything. That was the whole point. Not to have the best year, but to make it through, to learn, to grow, to become someone who can handle hard things, someone who doesn't fall apart when life gets difficult, someone who knows that hard years don't last forever, that everything is temporary, the pain, the struggle, the uncertainty, all of it passes. And what you're left with is who you became in the middle of it all. This wasn't my best year, but I learned a lot. I learned about resilience, about strength, about letting go. I learned about who I am when no one's watching, when there's nothing to prove, when it's just me and my thoughts and the quiet truth of my life. I learned that I'm enough, even when I don't feel like it, that I'm worthy, even when I don't believe it, that I'm stronger than my worst days, braver than my biggest fears, more capable than my loudest doubts. I learned that life isn't about having perfect years. It's about having real years, honest years, years that teach you something, years that break you and rebuild you and leave you different than you were before. This was one of those years, and I'm grateful for it, even though it hurt, even though I wouldn't want to do it again, even though I'm glad it's over. I'm grateful because it made me who I am now, and who I am now is someone I can respect, someone who doesn't give up, who keeps trying, who finds ways to hope even when hope feels impossible, someone who knows that not every year will be good, but every year will teach you something, if you're willing to learn, if you're willing to sit with the discomfort, the pain, the not knowing, and ask yourself, what is this showing me? What am I supposed to understand? Who am I becoming? That's what this year did for me. It showed me that I'm still becoming, that I'm not finished, not done, not who I thought I was, that there's more to me, more depth, more strength, more capacity for growth than I ever imagined. This wasn't my best year, but it was mine, and I lived it fully, honestly, even when it hurt. I showed up even when I didn't want to. I kept going, even when I didn't know where I was going. I survived, even when I wasn't sure I would. And that counts for something. That counts for everything. When you're in the middle of a hard year, it's difficult to see past the pain. Difficult to imagine that any of this will make sense someday. Difficult to believe that you're growing when it feels like you're just barely surviving. But you are growing, even when you can't see it, even when it doesn't feel like it. Every single day that you keep going, you're building something inside yourself, something that can't be taken away. Strength, not the loud kind, but the quiet kind, the kind that shows up when everything else is gone, the kind that whispers, keep going, when your mind is screaming, give up. Wisdom, not the kind you read in books, but the kind you earn through living, through making mistakes and learning from them, through losing things and discovering what really matters, through being broken and figuring out how to put yourself back together. Compassion, for yourself, for others, for the messiness of being human. Understanding that everyone is fighting battles you can't see, that everyone is doing the best they can with what they have. That grace is something we all need and rarely give. This year taught me that pain has a purpose, not because some higher power decided you needed to suffer, but because pain shows you what needs attention, what needs to change, what can't continue the way it's been. Pain is information. It's your body, your mind, your soul telling you something isn't right. And when you stop running from it, when you stop trying to numb it or ignore it, when you actually listen to what it's trying to tell you, that's when the healing begins. Not the kind of healing that erases the hurt, but the kind that integrates it, that takes the broken pieces and creates something new from them. Something that's been through fire and came out stronger because of it. I learned that transformation is uncomfortable. It's supposed to be. You can't become someone new while clinging to who you were. You can't build a new life while holding on to the old one. You can't grow without outgrowing things that no longer fit. And that process, that shedding of your old self, it feels like death sometimes, because in a way, it is. You're letting a version of yourself die so a truer version can be born. And that's terrifying and painful and necessary all at once. I learned that you have to grieve who you used to be, even if who you used to be was hurting you, even if that version of yourself was built on other people's expectations, even if leaving that person behind is the best thing you've ever done. There's still grief in it, still a sense of loss, still moments where you miss the simplicity of not knowing what you know now, of not seeing what you see now, of not being responsible for who you're becoming. But you can't go back, and even if you could, you wouldn't. Because as hard as this is, as painful as growth can be, it's better than staying stuck. It's better than living a life that isn't really yours. It's better than being a stranger to yourself. I learned that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite it. It's taking the next step even when you can't see the path. It's choosing growth even when comfort is calling your name. Every day this year that I got out of bed, every time I faced something I was afraid of, every moment I chose honesty over pretending, that was courage. Small, quiet, unglamorous courage, but courage nonetheless. And that's what gets you through hard years. Not grand gestures or dramatic moments, but small acts of courage repeated over and over. The decision to try again, to show up again, to believe again, even when you're tired, even when you're scared, even when you're not sure it will make a difference. I learned that hope is a practice. It's not something that just happens to you. It's something you choose again and again. It's finding reasons to keep going when everything tells you to quit. It's looking for light even in the darkest moments. It's believing that this isn't the end of your story, just a difficult chapter. And some days, practicing hope looks like just surviving, just making it through, just not giving up. And that's enough. That's hope too. I learned that you can feel multiple things at once. You can be sad about what you lost and grateful for what you have. You can be scared of the future and excited about the possibilities. You can be proud of how far you've come and frustrated that you're not further along. Life isn't binary. Feelings aren't binary. You don't have to choose between being okay and not being okay. You can be both. You can be healing and still hurting. You can be strong and still need support. You can be growing and still have setbacks. All of it is real. All of it is valid. All of it is part of being human. This year taught me that community matters, that you can't do this alone, that reaching out isn't weakness, it's survival, that the people who show up for you in your worst moments are your real family, whether you're related by blood or not. And it taught me to be that person for others, to show up, to listen, to hold space, to not try to fix everything, but just to be present, because sometimes that's all someone needs. To know they're not alone, to know someone sees them, to know their pain matters. I learned that healing isn't linear. I said that before, but it bears repeating, because you need to hear it on the days when you feel like you're going backwards, when old wounds reopen, when triggers you thought you dealt with come back, when you find yourself in the same patterns you swore you'd left behind. That's not failure. That's part of the process. Healing spirals. You revisit the same issues at deeper levels. You process the same pain from new angles. You learn the same lessons in new ways until they finally stick. So be patient with yourself. Be gentle. Understand that there's no timeline for healing, no deadline by which you have to be over it. You take as long as you need. You feel what you need to feel. You go at your own pace. And anyone who tries to rush you, anyone who tells you you should be over it by now, anyone who doesn't understand why you're still struggling, they don't get to have an opinion because they're not living your life. They're not carrying your pain. They're not doing your healing. This year taught me that boundaries are love, both for yourself and for others. That saying no is just as important as saying yes. That protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's necessary. That you can't pour from an empty cup. I learned to say no without guilt, to choose myself without apology, to walk away from things that drain me, to stop explaining or justifying my boundaries to people who don't respect them. Because the right people will understand. They'll honor your boundaries. They'll appreciate that you know yourself well enough to protect your energy. And the people who don't, the people who push back, who make you feel guilty, who call you selfish for having limits, they're showing you exactly why those boundaries are necessary. I learned that you teach people how to treat you, not through what you say, but through what you accept, through what you tolerate, through what you allow to continue. And if you've been accepting less than you deserve, if you've been tolerating behavior that hurts you, if you've been allowing people to cross your boundaries again and again, this year was probably about learning to stop, learning to require more. Not because you're demanding or difficult, but because you know your worth. Because you understand that how people treat you is a reflection of how much space you're willing to give them in your life. This wasn't my best year, but it was the year I learned to choose myself, to prioritize my well-being, to stop sacrificing my peace for other people's comfort, to stop shrinking so others could feel big. And that's not selfish. That's self-preservation. That's survival. That's finally understanding that you can't help anyone else if you're running on empty. That you can't be there for others if you're not there for yourself first. I learned that rest is productive, that doing nothing is sometimes the most important thing you can do, that your worth isn't tied to your productivity, that you're allowed to just exist without achieving anything. In a world that constantly tells you to do more, be more, achieve more, choosing to rest is revolutionary. Choosing to simply be is an act of resistance. Choosing to prioritize your well-being over your output is choosing yourself. And this year forced me to learn that. Because I didn't have a choice. Because I hit a wall where I couldn't keep pushing. Where my body and mind said no more. Where rest became non-negotiable. And what I found in that rest was myself. The person I am when I'm not performing. When I'm not producing. When I'm not proving my worth through what I accomplish. Just me. Just being. Just existing. And that was enough. This year taught me that enough is enough. That I am enough. That what I have is enough. That where I am is enough. Not in a way that means I stop growing or trying or hoping for more, but in a way that means I can be content right now in this moment with what is. Because so much of our suffering comes from resistance, from wishing things were different, from focusing on what we don't have instead of what we do, from comparing our lives to others and coming up short, from never feeling satisfied, never feeling complete, never feeling like we've arrived. But life isn't a destination, it's the journey. And if you spend the whole journey wishing you were somewhere else, you miss the only life you have. You miss this moment, right now, which is the only moment that's real. So this year taught me to be here, to be present, to find gratitude in small things, to notice beauty even in hard times, to appreciate what's working instead of only focusing on what's not, to be gentle with myself, with others, with the process of being alive. And most importantly, this year taught me that I have a choice, not about what happens to me, but about how I respond to it. Not about whether I face hard times, but about who I become in the midst of them. Not about whether I suffer, but about whether I let that suffering destroy me or transform me. I chose transformation, some days more successfully than others, some days barely at all. But over time, consistently, even when it was hard, I chose to learn, to grow, to become someone different than who I was at the beginning of this year. And that choice, that decision to not waste the pain, to not let the struggle be for nothing, that's what makes this year matter. That's what turns suffering into wisdom. That's what takes a bad year and makes it a meaningful one. This wasn't my best year, but it was real, and it was mine. And I wouldn't trade it, even with all the pain, because it made me who I am. And who I am is someone who can handle hard things, someone who doesn't quit when it gets difficult, someone who keeps showing up, keeps trying, keeps believing that better days are ahead. And if you had a year like this too, if you're sitting here relating to everything I'm saying, if you're wondering how you made it through, I want you to know something. You're stronger than you think, braver than you feel, more capable than you believe. And the fact that you're still here, still going, still trying, that's proof. Proof that you have what it takes. Proof that you can survive hard things. Proof that you're not done yet. This year might have broken you, but it didn't destroy you. And that difference, that space between broken and destroyed, that's where you'll find yourself. That's where you'll discover what you're really made of. That's where you'll become who you're meant to be. So take what this year taught you, honor what it cost you, grieve what you lost, celebrate what you survived, and carry it forward into the next year. Not as baggage, but as wisdom. Not as trauma, but as strength. Not as an ending, but as a beginning. Because this wasn't your best year, but it doesn't have to be your last hard year either. Hard years will come again, they always do. But now you know something you didn't know before. You know you can get through them. You know you have what it takes. You know that hard years end, and that you're still you on the other side of them. Maybe different, maybe changed, but still you. Still here, still standing. And that's everything.